Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, my main man is Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Oh, Mr. Drew, good to see you. I think we should title this show, Where in the World is Commander Drew Brown?
I just left the island of Madeira from Portugal. What a beautiful place. And as you can see, I'm on Virgin Voyage with the ocean behind me, Paul. It is the bomb. What a cruise I'm having.
This is great. You see any dolphins or great white sharks or any fish or anything?
Not yet. I'm looking, though. They did have a whale tour, but I didn't go on it.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we start the show off with a quote all the time. And the quote this week is, find what it is you love to do in life and do it. And by the way, only you know what that is. How about that, Paul? Finding out what you love to do in life and doing it. And you're the only one who knows what to do. And that was by Maz Jobrani. That's a great quote, Paul. You know, both of us did that. We found out that we love to fly jets all over the world, and we were able to make a living at it.
Yeah, that's kind of a dream come true. But it's a dream that we realize by actually doing something and not just dreaming about it. We made the dream come true from action. So take action.
Take action. And remember, in the beginning, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It was hard as hell to learn how to fly. But guess what? In the end, it was all worth it. Anyway, I told you, Paul, we're leaving the island of Madeira. I'm going to put some pictures up of Madeira. Beautiful, the city of Funchal. Anyway, it's a very steep city. In other words, there are very high hills that you have to walk up and down. And I found out, Paul, this is one of the blue zone areas where older people live a lot longer.
Really?
Yeah, it's because they have to walk these hills. You know, the four things that they found out about the blue zone, about how you can actually increase your life, the four things that everybody had in common was, number one, they all ate correctly. Number two, they did your favorite thing, which is move. And that's by walking up and down those hills every day for their whole life. They just stayed in shape. Number three, they all had purpose. And number four, I'm glad I got you, Paul. They all had good friends.
That's important. That's important. Steep places, as you say that, I'm thinking, yeah, I know a number of people I've seen who were in the 80s, at least in the Caribbean, who were in really good shape and they were climbing up hills. In fact, we were looking at property with a guy. Had to be in his mid 80s. And at this time, I'm probably almost 50 years younger. And he's moving up those steep hills really, really good, showing me different things. And that's what he did.
Well, if you want to stay alive like we do, walk up hills. All right. You know, also about Madeira that I wanted to tell you, Paul, it is Europe's Hawaii. People from Europe feel that Madeira is like Hawaii, like we feel about Hawaii. It's their paradise. It's a beautiful, beautiful island, way out in the middle of the ocean.
Did you have a city named after you? Can you buy like a piece of a rock or something like that called Commander Drew's Paradise?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Paul. You know, the name of the show is How to Be Happy and Content. Do these 7 things. And Dr. Paul, we have found out that as you get older in life, I've become happier. I've actually become happier. And the reason I've become happier is I didn't realize it, but I follow these 7 things. Let's talk about it. The first thing that they found out that people really, really, when they become happy, it's because they're embracing change, Paul. And I've noticed that. The only thing that won't change is change. Change will always happen. So you can either fight it or you can embrace it. Well, if you want to be happy, you need to embrace it. Don't you think, Paul?
Yeah, Drew, I do. You know, sometimes people like a couple of family friends we were talking about it before, where they're kind of, if you don't have a cell phone, you're in trouble. If you don't get, we know a couple that are like that. I think they're a couple of older sisters, and they don't have any of the stuff they don't want. But they can't communicate with each other, can't do a lot of things. So, my wife's trying to work with with one of them to try to get them up to speed to a point, like we were saying, show them something simple. I mean, maybe they can open up the world. Because otherwise, if you resist certain things, you're going to be cut off. You're going to be cut
Oh,
off.
didn't we just do a show about that, Paul?
Yeah,
About a guy, an older man. His son was worried. He was educated, but he didn't want to do technology. And then we told him, you're not going to sporting events, you're not going to concerts. You soon probably won't be able to do much without a smartphone.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So you don't have to embrace it like a religion, but learn how to do a couple of the basic things right. And if you don't know how to do it, find some younger person who can zip through that in 5 seconds and explain it to you in about 10 seconds, and you'll have something just to get started.
I think a lot of that is actual confidence. You're scared to fail. Well, they make these smartphones now for 5-year-olds. So if a 5-year-old can do it, because my granddaughter, who's almost 5, can work that goddamn iPhone like I've never seen before. She calls me, Zooms me, FaceTimes me, everything. So it can be done. Number 2, to become happier, welcome solitude. Now, Dr. Paul, you and I have a benefit because we're both only children.
Mhm.
And I like being with Drew Brown, and that's me. I enjoy it. I like peaceful. I like quiet sometimes. And I've grown up sometimes being by myself, and it's an actual gift, Paul.
I agree. Yeah, I I deal with myself very, very well. I don't have feelings of loneliness. I've never been in solitary confinement or prison or anything like that, but yeah, I do very well with myself, and I appreciate the peace. I have enough non-peace. I like the peace at this point. The more, the better. I don't, I'm not bored, and that's the case with a lot of my friends who left New York. I need it quiet. I want to try to get old. I don't need to hear sirens every 2 seconds. You know,
Paul, remember I told you I have a 3-day visa in New York now. I have to leave after 3 days.
3 days.
It's not me anymore. Official visa. Number 3, which is really good, start wanting what you have instead of wanting what you don't have. Practicing gratitude. And I am so thankful. My daddy taught me a long time ago, when things are going bad, start counting fingers and toes. If you got 10 and 10, you're starting off all right. But I am so grateful for the things that I have. And as you get older, like we talked about, Paul, there's not much that I want anymore. And the things that I thought I used to want that I got, it wasn't that important anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Practicing gratitude.
I agree. You asked me, not long ago, you're gonna go buy a fancy airplane. I said, at this point, no, no. Maybe might rent one or two, but life is simple and it's cool. It's cool.
Paul, you have something I don't have. You have experience in civilian airplanes. I
Mhm.
cannot go 70 knots an hour without thinking I'm going to die. Okay, I flew jets. We took off at 130, 135. When 70 knots to me is stalling,
Yeah,
dropping to the ground and blowing up. That's what I feel about going slow in an airplane, Paul. So you do have that over me.
yeah.
Number 4, go ahead, Paul.
No, I was gonna say, I was just thinking the last time I was up in a little white plane with a guy. I think we got airborne. I think it was like 52 or something like that. We were just breaking ground. I was like, okay, I hope this thing works, and it does work. And I think we maxed out at about 75.
Yeah, but you told me it took you 15 minutes to get up to 5,000 feet.
Yeah, no, it was 15 minutes to get to it, like 1,000 feet.
15 minutes for
Gotta like if
1,000.
you don't know any different, then it's great.
That's true. Well, I guess if you never flew, you're going fast.
That's right. That's right.
Number 4, your favorite thing. My friend loves this word, move. So the 4th thing in being happy is staying active. And what happens is you actually release endorphins when you work out. It is good for you and you feel better. And I love endorphins because endorphins make me high, but they make me high on life. And that's a natural way to get high. You notice they have that thing called runner's high.
Yes.
People who run, they have to run. because they get to a certain state of endorphins that just feels great for them. Not me, but other people.
Yeah, I'd had that earlier in life. I'd had that 2 or 3 times, but I didn't really want to. It wasn't that good for me to keep running those long distances. It was okay. I understood it, but you can get it other ways too, like you said.
Well, after playing basketball at Southern University and after my athletic abilities, all of that, they used to drive behind me in a car. In other words, if you stopped running, you would get run over, kind of. Not really, but that was the thought. So I used to run saying after I finish having to run, I won't run anymore. And I think I kept that promise. But I do a lot of things. You and I both wake up and we both work out and we both want to stay alive. And so we always stay active, don't we, Paul?
Yeah, we do. I try. I don't do long distance, but I do sprints, and I think that can be actually more beneficial for very short distance.
Number 5, very important. And I do this, forgiving the past. Dr. Paul, I am like Mr. Spock. It's called logic. It's called logic. I can do nothing about the past. I use that serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, the wisdom is the only thing I can change is myself. So I have forgiven myself for everything. First of all, I need to be my own best friend. I don't need to beat myself up. The world is tough enough. I'm my own best friend. I've given myself a soft pillow and I look after myself. But I do not regret the past. And the biggest reason is, Paul, all of the things that I've done in the past, even the bad ones, has made me the man I am today. So I learned a lot from my mistakes.
Yeah, don't you agree that if you don't do anything, you don't make any mistakes. If you don't make any mistakes, you probably haven't done anything.
It's true.
That just popped in
Number
my head.
6, that was very good. Maybe we'll coin that.
Yeah, I like that.
Number 6, you just mentioned it, limiting material possessions. I cannot tell you how I want to get rid of so much stuff that I have. And I've collected a lot of stuff throughout my life. If you put all the stuff in a room, you can make a museum of Drew Brown. I really want to get rid of this stuff. I want to downsize. As a matter of fact, I play a little game with my wife. She has so many clothes. I take 25 pieces of her clothing out. And I say, if you know what clothing I've taken out, come get it. I won't throw it away. And she hasn't thought of one yet. Oh, I heard of something really cool, Paul. Listen to this. They say, go in your closet, turn all your hangers opposite of where they are. And every time you wear something, put it back on that hanger, but turn it the other way. And see in 6 months how much stuff you actually used out of your closet. How about that?
That's interesting because they tend to be a creature of habit, and it's kind of the same thing more, especially since COVID and maybe retiring and COVID. It's not that much. In fact, I could just an aside had a little quasi-formal thing to attend a week and a half ago, and I put on these shoes. Used to be my work shoes, which were nice shoes with Johnson and Murphy, warm flying for years. I was extremely uncomfortable. My feet were like, what is this? What is this? What is it? But these are my main shoes. I mean, they were broken in for years, but I'd been out of them for so long. It's like, I came back home and saw something was wrong with my feet. Took them off. I was fine.
And I worked in Vegas as a young man. I remember trading an ad because I used to sell advertising for all the major fights. I remember trading an ad for a pair of $300 Italian-made shoes. They were the most beautiful shoes I've ever seen. Paul, I haven't ever worn them. 20 years after I bought them, I put them on and they were too small.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I guess our bodies change. Your feet change. Your feet change.
Well, no, and that I just never thought there was a good enough time to wear $300 pairs of shoes. And you got to remember, that's a long, long time ago, maybe 40 years ago. So a $300 pair of shoes is a $2,000 pair of shoes now.
Yeah.
And I just never wore it. And how silly is that? I learned a big lesson from that. I surely did. Number 7, very important. And I'm so glad I have you, Dr. Paul, nurturing relationships. Believe it or not, I do make calls once a month to a couple elderly people, and it makes me feel good. And one of them is my man, Gunnery Sergeant Clark. I call him like once every couple of months to just check on him. And I know how important that is. But being a social person with good friends, not a lot. You need quality, not quantity, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. You need good people because you look at so many of the people in entertainment and sports to some degree who seem to be very, very lonely and depressed, but they're like icons with millions of people that adore their performances, but they don't have anybody close, and they have substance abuse problems and other things underlying those brilliant performances they have. So you got to be honest with yourself. Be around some good people, some honest people that you can trust and that you love and that love you.
That's very true, Paul. Live well, age happier. Your best chapters await. They really do, Paul. You gotta be positive in your life. They say, is the glass half empty or half full? Well, the truism is it depends how thirsty you are.
Yeah.
While these 7 behaviors we've explored provide a roadmap to growing happier with age, it's really important to remember that happiness is a deeply personal and subjective experience. And be honest with you, Paul, that is my goal every day, to wake up healthy and happy.
Same here. I'm glad when I wake up every day. It's a good day. Every day. It is. You don't know it, but even your hassle, if you're waking up, even if it's a hassle, it's actually a good day.
That's very true. Well, everybody out there, thank you so much for supporting the Wingman Show. Thank you for watching on YouTube, on Instagram. Thank you for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Thank TikTok, our man Brandon. He puts these bad little videos together on TikTok and Instagram. You guys should really check it out. Thank you so much. And we have a newsletter also. And that newsletter is at wingmanshow.com. That's wingmanshow.com. And we have a newsletter every week that comes out. And matter of fact, this week's newsletter is how to find and start a new career. I think that's a great newsletter to read. Paul, also, we have a frequent flow line at that website. And all you have to do is write us a question, and Dr. Paul and I will try to answer it. And we have one from this week. It's the frequent flow line from a 20-year-old, a private in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Oh boy, listen to this one, Paul. Why can't we socialize with officers? Some of those officers think they are so much better than all of us. Paul and I are both officers in the United States Navy, and we're Black officers. So that's a little bit different. We really had to show all of our men that we weren't better than them, that we were with them. But the reason you can't socialize with officers is because, believe it or not, the military is about war, I'm sorry to say. And in war, you can't have friends. When you give orders, they need to be dealt with immediately. So if I'm hanging out with you the night before and I tell you to go hit that hill, you have to go hit that hill. You can't tell me, well, Drew, we were hanging out. That's not good. We can't do that.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's what it really amounts to. And he's 20 years old, so I'm assuming he's just kind of getting started. And realize that even in the Navy and the Air Force, it's actually forbidden. Fraternization is forbidden. I don't know personally, but I know of a couple of people that lost their commands, their squadrons because of that. They were fraternizing. Wow. And one was friends of friends, they told me about it. I think in the Army, you can socialize to some degree. A lot of these things involve intimate relations. I think the general rule is, if, let's say, a person, they were officer in the list, let's say they were married before they came into the service, then that's different. That's an unusual case. And I think they look at things on a case-by-case basis. But for the reasons that you said, that you have to be operationally ready, and we have to, it's about going to war. It's not just having a good time or getting benefits. That's the basis of it.
Well, when we were flying off the aircraft carrier, carrying bombs, it was a lot of fun just flying every day. But in the end, it was really serious, the job that we had to do. And for everybody to know out there, the only difference between officer and enlisted is 4 years of college. 4 years of college. So that private from Fort Jackson, do your little time, go back to school, and come in as an officer. But don't fraternize, okay?
Yeah, yeah, right. He can go to school while he's in it, depending on what his assignment is.
100%. You could take so many advantages from the military.
Yeah, he's still a young guy.
All right, Paul, that brings us to our Wingman PSA. I guess I got to do it like this.
Yep.
Our Wingman PSA from the 11 facts in life. Fact number 9, develop self-discipline. From the facts in life, fact number 9, develop self-discipline. Dr. Paul, every time I think about self-discipline, I think about Gunnery Sergeant Clark and my 16 weeks in AOCS. I came out there fit as a fiddle. I was muscular. I lost all that fat, and I was really in shape. For me to stay in shape, I have to make myself do it. And that's one of the things that Gunnery Sergeant Clark helped me do. He helped me develop self-discipline. Because like when I went to college the first time in New Mexico State University, there were 300 people in the class. You and I both come from New York. And the first thing they do in every class we've ever taken is take attendance. I'm sitting there thinking, how are you going to take attendance of 300 people? Guy next to me said, you don't have to be in class. They don't care.
Right.
Well, I didn't have much self-discipline, so I didn't go to class, and I got kicked out of New Mexico State University with a 1.6 grade point average. But it was one of the best years of my whole life. I went back to a community college, Kingsborough Community College in Brooklyn, New York. I went back to community college, and I started to do something that I needed to do, and that was study. So I studied and had fun, and I kind of, balanced it. And I went on to get a full scholarship to Southern University in New Orleans. And I went to college in New Orleans, and trust me, it was fun.
Well, that's good. That's good. Good. You had a good experience. But like I said, you got to make the commitment. They say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, I guess when you got ready, the school appeared. And you decided to make up for whatever you didn't do the first time. Because we all get older. So, you can pay me now, you can pay me later, but you're gonna pay. So, I'm glad you had some fun. Like tell everybody else, have some fun, but don't have too much fun. Get some education. Try to get something that's kind of useful, because the stuff is way too expensive to be blowing it on parties and stuff that won't give you much of a future, in my opinion. But it's your money.
Well, I think that is so right. If you can find something that you love, and that's what we were talking about in that quote, if you can find something that you love, hard work isn't hard work. It's still, you still really put a lot of effort into it, but you're starting to have fun because you love what you do. And I think that is the key. Dr. Paul, the name of our show is called The Wingman Show. And even though we are recording live from Virgin Voyages out in the Mediterranean, what a great cruise line too, Paul. I don't care if they don't pay us for advertising. I need to advertise this ship because it's one of the best cruise lines I've ever been on. And actually, this is the only one we're going to start cruising on is Virgin Voyages, Paul.
Cool. See if you try to get a picture of the captain or some of the crew people, some of the cool ones.
No problem. Well, the show is called The Wingman Show, and the reason it's called The Wingman Show is because every week we have a Wingman of the Week. And this week, Dr. Paul will give us what an incredible story this is. Tell us, Paul.
Yeah, this is an unusual one, and it gets me every time I see it. There's a couple of phrases. You may have heard this one. I'm sure we'll cross paths again. And my question is, when you cross paths, what form will that take? And there's a section in the Bible, I know you're a big biblical scholar, Matthew 7:1, judge not, lest ye be judged. In other words, don't be judgmental with people because they're going to judge you one day. Question is, but what if you are a judge? In this case, our wingman is a judge. And the judge is Mindy Glazer, Miami, Florida. In a very unusual case, and you can see a video of it, she's at a hearing when a bunch of folks who've done various bad things are all dressed in orange jumpsuits have to stand up and raise your right hand and recite a number of things. And, or do you know why you're here today? They did this, they did that, and they go one by one, by one, going through the charges. And I guess it's a bond hearing. She's setting their bond for what they did. She's going through the papers. And then this one gentleman gets up there. His name is Arthur Booth. Okay, or Mr. Booth, he's in charge of such, such, such. She reads the list of what he's done. And then as she's down, she looks up at him and says, with a pencil, she said, "Mr. Booth, did you go to Nautilus Middle School?"
Hmm.
And he looks at her and he goes, his eyes wide, his mouth wide. He goes, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness." And she's nodding her head. And she's looking off to the side. Maybe she's talking to the bailiff or somebody in the courtroom saying, and he's there because you can see both of them together like in a split screen. And she said, "He was the nicest kid. He was the nicest kid. We used to play football together. He was the nicest kid. But look what happened to him." And at this time, he's like crying because he's realizing who she is and he recognizes her obviously and how things turned out. She is the judge of a playmate and actually has to sentence him. He had problems with, I guess, drugs, gambling, and some other petty stuff. And she sentenced him to 10 months in prison for whatever it was he did. It's just that, I hope you, make better choices and get your life together, sir. And the story, transitions where and when he gets out of prison 10 months later, she's actually there to greet him. Got the picture. And long story short, he said he would, and he has. You know what he's doing now? Now he stayed out of trouble. He's actually the manager of a pharmaceutical company in the state of Florida. I assume they're legal drugs, but he is the manager of he's a manager of a pharmaceutical company, and he might be doing better than we are. So this is somebody, she put a sentence on him, and it wasn't super harsh, but she had a lot of humanity. And the same judge, I honestly, I just saw this morning. I was surprised. I'll throw it in. She's interviewing somebody else in orange jumpsuit, and she looks at him and say, Were you on the such and such boat on a cruise?" He just came off a cruise. This guy, they were passengers on the same cruise line. Like you're on a cruise.
No kidding.
Yeah, they were on a cruise. Yeah, oh, yeah. And I did that. And yeah, she said, "I had my 4 kids with me." And she sensed him to something else. So, but she was very, very, very humane, a very, very humane person. Then you can say, well, see, like all her friends go to jail. So you may want to watch her. But that's a very interesting story of Judge Mindy Glazer. She's the wingman or wing person of the week. And a very humane judge and understanding. And in a tough area of Miami where people were doing some very, very bad things, but she sees the good in some people, which is great.
That's a great story, Paul. I read that too, and it's just amazing. Isn't it funny? He goes from illegal drugs to legal drugs.
Yeah, there you go.
And everybody, people who are listening out there, everybody's made a mistake. The only difference is some people get caught. The way he changed his life is an incredible thing. And you know what she told him? She told him, "You've got to take care of your family, try to get a job, stay clean. You're going to do something good for somebody else. And that's what you've got to do." And he listened to his schoolmate and he did that. And believe it or not, even though that was a bad thing in his life, look how many people he may be able to help who are in similar situations. I'm on my way to Spain now, Barcelona, actually. Oh, actually, I'm going to Valencia first, Paul, the home of paella.
Yeah.
How about that one?
That's good. Yeah, I have some for me. And take some good pictures. That's really a colorful dish. A big pot. Usually it's a very big pot. Try to get a good picture of that.
I will take some pictures of that paella and we will show it on the next show that we have.
Yeah,
Dr. Paul, for you and all our listeners, whatever you think is important, whatever you think is beautiful, and especially whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace. I enjoyed this show today, Commander Drew, and we appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. If you watch on YouTube, please give us a like. Just takes a second. Click the thumbs up, that bell icon, so you'll get a notification when we come out with a new episode. Thank you all very much.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.